Welcome to the Manatee Chamber's November Headliners Luncheon, a State of Generosity Philanthropy panel. And as you can see, we have a packed room today. So obviously a topic that is not only important to you all, but I think very meaningful to all of us as we consider what each of our individual roles and our corporate roles might be in philanthropy. So my name is Jackie Dzelski. I'm the president and CEO at the Manatee Chamber, and we're so thrilled that you're here. At this point, I would also like to recognize the elected officials who were at least scheduled to join us today. From the Manatee County Commission and Port Authority, we have Commission Chairman Mike Ron, as well as Commissioner George Cruz, and Commissioner-elect Tal Sadiq joining us. From Congressman Vern Buchanan's office, we have Tara Poulton and Edward Valdez. Thank you so much for prioritizing our luncheon. As always, we like to give recognition to the annual sponsors who make our Headliners series possible. You'll see a placard at your table recognizing these corporate sponsors. Now is a great time to consider that opportunity for your organization as we are scheduling well into 2025 for our monthly Headliners as well. So thank you to Career Source Suncoast, Florida Power and Light, Manatee Health, the Mosaic Company, and the Realtors Association of Sarasota Manatee. If you could please give a round of applause for those sponsors. We also like to take an opportunity to thank those organizations that invest within our chairman's circle, and particularly our platinum investors who make a significant financial investment in the Chamber's mission well beyond their annual dues. And those organizations at the platinum level are Brown & Sons Funeral Homes and Crematory, celebrating their 50th anniversary this year, Carr, Riggs & Ingram, the City of Bradenton, Freedom Village of Bradenton, IMG Academy, Manatee County Government, Manatee Health, MCR Health, the Mosaic Company, NDC Commercial Real Estate, NDC Construction Company, the Pittsburgh Pirates and Bradenton Marauders, Raymond James Wealth Management, Bruce Body, the Sarasota Bradenton International Airport, Seaport Manatee, and South State Bank. So thank you to those investors. Philanthropy is a powerful force in American society, and generosity, I believe, is a powerful force of human nature. Bring the two together under well-honed and well-executed missions within the nonprofit world, and the results change lives and change communities. And philanthropy isn't just about names like Andrew Carnegie, J.D. Rockefeller, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, or even Mackenzie Scott. It's also about everyday small gifts and investments that are given with purpose. American philanthropy can no longer be categorized as charity work. It has evolved into something much greater. Data drives the work of nonprofits, and the work drives progress towards a greater good that we can all choose to have a role in elevating. Our speakers today are going to share many insights into the world of nonprofits, philanthropy, and the role that each of us as business and community leaders and employers have in making a difference, as well as some insights how your culture related to generosity can really be a game changer for your organization. So we're going to take a break here for a few minutes to allow the staff here at Rosedale to serve our lunch. And then when we come back up, we'll be welcoming our three panelists today for our State of Generosity. Please enjoy some networking time and some lunch. If you are a staff member for a local nonprofit, raise your hand. You work for a local nonprofit. Thank you so much for the work that you do. If you are a board member or a committee member for a nonprofit, raise your hand. Thank you all for the important time and brain power and treasure that you share with thousands of nonprofits likely in our region. And then finally, if you have ever given even $1 to a worthy cause, to a nonprofit, in the interest of philanthropy and generosity, raise your hand. Thank you all for the investment that you make in the work of nonprofits that carry forward such important missions. So, at the request of our three panelists today, we are going to leave the introductions, the bios per se, to their own devices. They've asked for that latitude from a departure of a normal chamber headliner's intro of speakers. So I'm simply going to call them up by name and organization, and they are going to take it from here. So we have Wendy Deming, CEO of Bishop Parker Foundation. This kind of feels like the Academy Awards or something. This is awesome. Jessica Muroff, CEO of United Way Suncoast. And Veronica Thames, CEO of the Manatee Community Foundation.
You got to help each other, right?
I don't have the height talent that you do. Exactly.
It's great to be here. Everyone happy Blurtober is over, right? And let's keep our eye on Sarah, however, for next week, please. All right, we're very excited to be here because we have a great time.
Yes, we do.
We do. And let me introduce now the amazing Wendy Deming. Wendy is a personal gift in my life, for starters, and a huge gift to our community. Currently at Bishop Parker, and thankfully for all of us since February 24, she is an incredibly seasoned nonprofit executive with over 25 years dedicated to serving in our communities and improving our region in bold and transformative ways. Before Bishop Parker Foundation, she served 5 years as corporate secretary at Marie Selby Botanical Gardens, where she made a huge difference in the establishment of a new Selby Gardens. She was previous to that a COO and corporate secretary at Gulf Coast Community Foundation. We barely crossed paths there, and she served at Gulf Coast for over 18 years. She managed operations, human resources. She was a hugely trusted advisor to CEOs and boards alike. She is a guru in governance, if I know one. And she has a lot of experience strategic planning, facilitating board retreats, securing accreditations, and facilitating nonprofit mergers and partnerships. She has an MBA from George Mason University, a BA in accounting from Furman University, and way too many certificates and awards to mention. But I'll say a couple of them because I love them. She is a prominent patriot at George Mason University and has won the Wonder Woman Award from Women's Resource Center and our friends there. And my favorite fact, although there are very, very many, is that she is the best baker you will ever meet. I know, you have got to stand in line when she bakes something, eat it. She is so committed, she goes annually to the King Arthur Baking School and learns a new skill. I know. I just want to be like the week after she comes back. And this year is the year of bread. Sign me up. So she's an amazing superstar. I'm very, very grateful for you, personally and as a community. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Veronica. That was very sweet. Thank you all. I have the honor of introducing the amazing Jessica Muroff. She is CEO of United Way Suncoast. And United Way Suncoast, for those of you who don't know, partner with more than 150 nonprofit organizations across its 5-county area, which includes Hillsborough, Pinellas, Sarasota, Manatee, and DeSoto. Jessica has a legacy of change-making leadership, not only at the United Way Suncoast, but at the other organizations where she has served. She establishes philanthropic goodwill and community care as well. She was named last year to Florida Trends Florida 500 list of most influential business leaders, not nonprofit leaders, business leaders throughout the state of Florida. And a fun fact about Jessica is she sets an amazing personal goal every single year to achieve. And this year it was to run a marathon in the Swiss Alps. So I bake, she runs.
And I don't do either.
But I like to eat, so I will eat whatever you bake. I get to have the honor and privilege of introducing Veronica. She is the Chief Executive Officer of the Manatee Community Foundation and has been in this post since August of 2023. She has really focused her energy on developing partnerships with their donor family, government, nonprofits, businesses, and community members. And if you know Veronica, which I know many of you in this room do, you definitely feel that synergy of just collaboration and convening that she brings to our community. So grateful for you. Prior to her leadership role at MCF, she served as Chief Operating Officer at Gulf Coast Community Foundation for 5 years, where she expanded the footprint of the organization by opening a new Sarasota Philanthropy Center, spearheaded the pursuit and achievement of the top 100 best nonprofits to work 6 times, and the Green Partner certification, and led Invest in Incredible, a nonprofit capacity building initiative. She has a ton of governance and board experience. She serves on a number of boards in our community and is just an overall incredible human being. So the fun fact about Veronica is that she was born in Buenos Aires. She speaks 3 languages, and in the order from which she acquired them, first was Spanish, second French, and third English.
Rusty on the fringe, just disclosure. And I think the farthest I've gone is a half marathon. We'll never do it again. And if I baked it, don't eat it.
So as the elder member of this panel, I was nominated to be our facilitator. So I have my little Oprah cards here. But we're going to start with telling you just a little bit about the history of our organizations. I like to call it the DNA because it really does stay with the organization in perpetuity. The way it starts just always seems to stay with it. So in a new organization, I always believe that you're creating the DNA that others will inherit later on. So for Bishop Parker Foundation, it goes back really to the late 1800s when Lillian Huntington was born in Ohio, and that was 1895. She was the granddaughter of John Huntington, who was a colleague, a business associate with John Rockefeller, all in the oil business. So amassed significant wealth. Lillian Huntington married Ned Bishop. Her nickname is Patty. So she became Patty Bishop. And many of you know the Bishop name throughout the community. You see it on a lot of buildings. And Ned and Patty moved here in 1914. Patty had vacationed in Bradenton many times with her family, so she knew the community. They cared deeply about Bradenton. They loved being on the water, spent a lot of time on the Manatee River and Tampa Bay, and made their home here. They invested in significant community projects as they lived here, including Manatee Memorial Hospital, the Performing Arts Center, Manatee Players, the Art Center. So they looked to make an impact in the community and to encourage others to make that same impact. They were not quiet about their philanthropy, especially if there was an opportunity to encourage larger community involvement. Ned passed away in the 1960s. Patty, unfortunately, passed away in the 1970s, but their adopted daughter, Mary Parker, who I know many of you knew, continued their philanthropy after their passing. And when she passed away in 2020 at the age of 108, because when you give money, your life extends. Ask any development person.
It's a fact. It's a fact.
She funded significantly the Mary E. Parker Foundation. And just 2 years ago, the Bishop Foundation, which the Bishops founded, and the Mary Parker Foundation merged to become the Bishop Parker Foundation. And fast forward to 2024, we are a $200 million private foundation, very much place-based, all about improving the lives of those who call Manatee County home. And we are an organization that is truly inspired by the philanthropic vision of our founders. So that's a little bit about Bishop Parker. Veronica, would you like to talk about the history of MCF?
Sure. And first of all, I want to ask my amazing board members who decided to purchase a full table, and so much so we spilled into another table. Can you wave and say hello? Yay! Look at them. And Max Schmidt, my new development director. So excited to have them. They're the fabric of MCF. MCF is a young organization. We were founded in 1998 by a gift that came from the Knight Foundation of $1 million and the three Bobs, Bob Blaylock, Bob Christopher, and Bob Bale. And they got together and were challenged to raise a matching $1 million to that first million. They had 3 years. They did it in 6 months. What that tells you is that our community was eager and ready for its own community foundation. Community foundation focuses on improving the quality of life of the region it serves. For us as Manatee County and beyond. And we are a collection of funds, right? So 364 donors call our foundation their philanthropic home, and many, many more, about 237, who's counting, call our MCF a legacy home. So we have amazing donors who will work with us through advance our philanthropy while they're living, and those who say, help me provide a legacy for my family, for my community when I pass. So 2 major roles that we work with at MCF. And so improving the quality of life of the communities we serve, partnering with our donors so we can help discover their wishes, align them with causes that mean the most to them, and help create the greatest impact for their dollars, for their treasure, their time, and their talent in this community. So we're extremely privileged. And our mission as MCF is to partner with our citizens to strengthen and enhance our community through philanthropy, education, and service now and forever. And I'll stress that because think about the last time you made a forever commitment. Many of us choose a husband and we hope it's going to last that long. But you know what? When it doesn't, there could be round 2. Other than that, your community foundation is here to usher your legacy forever into perpetuity. Those are the roots and the depth of our relationship with our donors, all kidding aside. We're very, very grateful to be the only community foundation in Manatee that serves the entire county. So we are for the people and by the people. So thank you for being here to support us. And Jessica, why don't you tell us about Amazing United Ways DNA?
Sure. In 1887, 2 ministers, a rabbi, and a woman, well, I was going to say walked into a bar, but I'm just joking. It always sounds like the start of a terrible joke, but no, seriously, 2 ministers, a rabbi, and a couple of women got together in Denver, Colorado, because they saw a need to inspire philanthropy, to bring together the community's resources to support nonprofit organizations, and thus was born the Community Chest. So United Way has been around for 137 years, but United Way Suncoast has been around for 100 years. We are celebrating our centennial this year. And it was the Community Chest, and Community Chests were in our local communities. We've been serving Manatee County this year for 80 years. And, United Way was truly the first crowdsourcing, philanthropy that was ever created. I mean, we were always literally riding on horseback in the streets of downtown Tampa. Women were collecting money. I still want to do that this year in celebration and solidarity to the women who helped in the beginning. But it's always been about collecting that collective philanthropy, encouraging and inspiring and promoting philanthropy within our communities, pulling all of those dollars together to support a collection of nonprofits who do incredible work in our community. And the secret sauce to United Way is that there are over 1,000 United Ways across our country. And the secret sauce is how personalized we are in our communities. If you've met one United Way, you've met one United Way, because what we're really focusing on are what that community needs. And at United Way Suncoast, we're focused in 3 primary areas of early learning, making sure that that children are entering kindergarten prepared to learn, reading on grade level by 3rd grade, 2 pivotal, and most important human benchmarks that you could have for success in life. youth success and helping those middle and high school students for workforce development and their careers. And then finally, financial security, really making sure that families have the tools and resources that they need to achieve their dreams and to thrive in their lives. And again, it's a virtuous circle, because if we have a strong and stable family, we're going to have a strong and stable environment for that child. So we work with, as Wendy said, more than 150 nonprofit organizations to making sure that all of the incredible work that they are doing, aligning in those areas, it really is a really strong collective impact model that does and moves so much forward. And that's what I'm grateful about United Way, because we're not just working in one sector, we're working with our government partners, our business partners, our nonprofit partners, pulling everybody together to making sure that we're filling gaps, that we're collaborating and coordinating, and always to see that transformational change in community.
Great. Thank you all. So before we dive into some of the meat of what we're going to discuss, we thought it might be fun to set the whole philanthropic world just in some context, specifically in the United States. So we have 3 questions for you. It's audience participation time. So every year, Giving USA publishes information on the state of giving in the United States. In 2023, which is the last year for which we have data, what was the total amount of charitable giving in the U.S. in 2023? So
Wendy, are you going to make it easy and give a multiple choice?
I am. I'm going to give you multiple choice. So A, B, C, and D. A, 499.9 billion. B, 374.5 billion. D, 602.8 billion. Or D, 557.2 billion. So 499.9, 374.5, 602.8, or 557.2. So who thinks it's A, 499.9? Okay. B, 374.5, a couple. 602.8, majority.
Yes.
557.2. You all are the winners. It was $557.2 billion.
But we want it to be 662.8.
Yeah, hopefully for 2024, it'll be 602. Okay, next question. What source contributed the most to total charitable giving in the U.S.? What source? A, corporations. B, individuals. C, foundations. Or D, bequests. So raise your hand if you think it was corporations who gave the most.
Noah's going for
Okay.
A. You gotta
Individuals.
shuffle them.
Okay. Foundations. Bequests. Well,
I don't think everyone voted on this one, Wendy.
Okay.
I'm going to call people out.
The correct answer is individuals by about 67%.
Yeah.
Right. So when you think about corporate and foundation giving, corporate giving is actually the least. So you all were right. It's about 6%. And then 17% from foundations. I don't know why they parse out bequests and individuals, because bequests come from individuals. And that ends up being about 74%. So for all of those organizations that say, we got to get the corporations, we got to get the corporations. Yeah, you do, but individuals are where the most money comes from. Okay, last question. Which category of nonprofit organizations received the highest amount of charitable contributions? A, religion. B, human services. C, health. Or D, education.
I know it's not puppies.
Arts is not on there because it's not even in the top 5. Okay, so religion. Who thinks religion gets the most? Okay. Human services? Health? And education. Wow, it's pretty split. The winner on that one is religion, but decreasing. Decreasing every year. And why do you think religion is at the top? Because they see you every week. So it's a reminder to your development staff, if you want to be up there with religion, See your donors as much as you can. So anyway, there's a little context setting for you.
So true.
So next we're going to focus on how we create a legacy of giving and impact in our community. And I will throw it over to Veronica to get us started.
Sure, thank you. Creating a legacy of giving in our community has a multi-pronged approach. Number one, philanthropy is a team sport, right? We play with governments, business, individuals. It is incumbent upon each one of us to work together toward resolving systemic solutions. None of one of us can do it alone. So I'm really excited to see Table 1 is reserved for county government. We've got tons of board members in here, our nonprofit partners, and our business entities, right? We've got to work together on systemic issues. I'll give you a quick example. Manatee Community Foundation was grateful to the Chamber and to many organizations here for establishing the Manatee Child Care Alliance. We know that childcare is a critical component of workforce, of grade level reading, and of the future success of our society. We know that if we resolve the child care crisis, by the way, today there are 350 children in this county who are registered for care and don't get it. There are many, many more who are not even on the list. But in those years, 0 to 4 years old, right, when your brain plasticity is at its best, is when we need to lay down the foundation of value systems, of skills and abilities that will allow you to be a productive citizen of the community and that will allow you to read at grade level. And when you read at grade level, especially those in poverty, you will have a much greater chance of graduating high school. Did you know that if you're in poverty and you don't read a grade level by grade 3, you're 85% less likely of graduating high school? And that if you don't graduate high school, according to the Heckman study about 10 years ago, you will cost the society about $300,000. Can you imagine all that we could do with that funding? So MCF, as a convener, that's one of the hats we wear, we gathered this group and we are endeavoring to work with business, county government, and philanthropy to resolve the child care crisis. So we are conveners. We inspire philanthropy. That's our goal, is so that it is contagious, so that you can get the bug of giving and the feel good of giving and making a difference by inspiring and sharing stories of our amazing donors, by diving in and learning what means the most to them. And I'll tell you, as a immigrant from a third world country, I saw what true misery really is. And I'll tell you that 99% of the rest of the population of this entire globe, 99% of the people that are alive would trade places with everyone in this room in the split of an eye, right? So we owe it to the rest of the world and to our community to elevate philanthropy, to make a difference in other people's lives, because we get to, right? We have a responsibility. And when you think about it, $84 trillion with a T, will be passing hands over the next 10 to 15 years in the transfer of wealth as baby boomers retire and move on. And a huge component of those $84 trillion could be allocated to philanthropy. If we don't inspire stories of philanthropy, then we're not going to see that. So as a corporate enterprise, you have a responsibility to elevate the philanthropic footprint of your organization and to be the best at what you do, but it will also be the best in the transfer of responsibility through those generations. And let's face it, if you're hiring millennials and Zs and they don't see you as a responsible citizen of mankind beyond the work that you do as an organization, they're going to look elsewhere. So it's incumbent upon you from a workforce development perspective and a social responsibility to inspire philanthropy. And I could talk forever and ever, so I'll stop here and I'll tell you about donor advised funds and how you can do it next.
All right, Jessica.
So at United Way, we really run the whole gamut as far as giving is concerned, from somebody who is maybe making their first charitable contribution to someone who has been our partner for more than 50 years. I'll just share one quick story with you. We had a Publix associate who was a bagger at Publix, she told me. She graduated from our CNA program that we offer. And she told me, she's like, this is a full circle moment for me, because at the graduation, she said, because my first ever contribution to a nonprofit was to United Way. when I was a bagger at Publix, and I always dreamed of having a career in the healthcare world. And now I'm benefiting from a United Way program, and I'm going to be on the path of becoming a nurse. And it's those types of connection and inspiring that first piece of generosity and giving that's important to us, and hopefully lasts her entire lifetime. But it really is very generational, and it is very much so giving people the opportunity to figure out what philanthropy means to them, right? And that's another thing that we really strive to do, is there are many ways that you can give of your time, your talents, and your treasure, whether that be through volunteering or through designating your dollars to specific nonprofits within our community. We offer that flexibility to all of our donors. But it always starts with giving, and that's the most important thing, is to just do something, even if it's a small something. And even like that bagger that I was talking about, she was like, it was, to her, it was a very significant gift. And to her, it absolutely was, and transformational for her life. And that's the kind of movement that we want to see in individuals in our community.
Great, thank you. And for Bishop Parker Foundation, it's a little bit different because we're a private foundation. So all of the funding for the foundation has already happened. We don't actively work with donors the way that Veronica and Jessica do. So our responsibility, mine as staff and our trustees, is to spread the word about what the bishops and Mary Parker did with their tremendous wealth. And they focused it on making the community that they cared about better. And we know that there are a lot of people in a similar position who have amassed wealth over time. So our goal is to serve as an example to those who have the same ability, to show them what could be done with that wealth if it's placed in the right hands, if it's done through a private foundation. And your name truly does live on forever. There's an old indigenous adage that people die twice. They actually have two deaths. The first death is when you take your last breath, and the second death is the last time somebody ever mentions your name. Think about that. So last time your name is mentioned, when you have a legacy like the bishops and Mary Parker created, they'll never die. Their philanthropy is going to exist in perpetuity, far beyond my lifetime, anybody in here's lifetime. So it's an opportunity to change your community in a very impactful way forever.
Wendy, can I jump in and add a couple things there? So how do you do that, right? Because I know you're all thinking about it. Wait a second. I don't have a donor advised fund, and I don't have a legacy plan. The time is now. The time is when you are well and healthy and you have the life ahead of you to plan for your future and that legacy. So you can do that by joining Manatee Community Foundation and opening a donor advised fund. If you've not heard what that is, I'll simplify it. It is a fund that works like an account that is held at MCF, where you can make a deposit or a gift. It's a gift because it's given to MCF in perpetuity. And you gift it and you get a tax advantage that year. And then after that, you can draw from that account and make advisements as to where those dollars will go. The really cool part about it is if you put dollars in today, we invest them so they grow. So you can put a certain amount and you will be able to give more over time from that account. So you choose how to invest it. We help you identify the causes that mean the most to you, and we give you opportunities to get to know our nonprofit partners behind the scenes. So we do all the homework for you and the administration. So a donor advised fund, super easy way that everyone can be a philanthropist, right? Starting early and then joining in with your family and sharing how that works. And I'll pick on my friend Jackie Barron. Say hi, Jackie. She does not know I was going to do this. But Jackie is with Mosaic. Mosaic have been incredible partners to MCF for many, many years. I could give you an example right now of the recent storms. Jackie and I were on a text basis every hour over the last 3 storms. Mosaic came through to support our community in huge ways by making gifts to MCF and allowing us to channel those dollars where they were needed the most. For example, we got to relocate a child care center, the only child care center in the island, from where it was devastated to Anna Maria Center. That's how 50 kids could continue to go to child care and their parents could rebuild their homes, thanks to Mosaic support. Or we were at every single mobile home park thanks to our friends in the county government who partner with us to create avenues to support those people who were the most devastated with no food, no water, no health care. So we were able to fund that. And our donor advice fund donors and corporate partners all came through to make that happen in response to the needs of our community. There's so very many ways you can be a philanthropist. And as we work with 750 nonprofit partners at MCF, we can help you find the right one that can help amplify your footprint. And as a corporate ambassador also, you can join us and be on our pretty banners as a gold or platinum level sponsor. And what that does is it tells our community for a really small amount of $3,000 or $5,000 that you're not only the best at your trade, but you're also here to care about our community and to invest in its growth. And I see Jamie from Bank of America there. I see so many of our CAs over here. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for partnering to support our community, but a couple other ways that you can support it through MCF.
Great. And I want to dive into data just for a little bit because we all provide funding to nonprofit organizations on a regular basis, as many of you know. And I want to make sure that the whole room is aware of just how we use data in our decision making. So Jessica, if you would like to start off with
Sure.
that.
This is at core of what we do, and it's so important to us. I'm sure many of you, have you heard of Alice, the Alice report? Raise your hand. Oh, I love seeing that. That is a report we put out every 2 years that really helps us hone in on those individuals throughout our region and in our communities who really need our support the most. And that report actually, and I know a lot of our nonprofit partners are in this room, I'm sure you use that, that information in your grants and telling your story, which is why we want that resource to always be out there. But we have so much more data than that as well. We have a housing affordability dashboard. We have a child care crisis dashboard on our website. So for those of you who do want to do something in community, you want to understand the issues and how to tackle them, use data, which is why we try to democratize data, make it as accessible and available as we possibly can in our community so that you can make better decisions about how to invest your philanthropic dollars and where to volunteer your time and how to make decisions to create that systemic change. We just went through a process of actually calculating our social return on investment. So for every dollar, an institute looked at all of our programs, looked at all of our expenses, and how we approach everything, and determined that for every dollar you give to United Way, it's a $1.75 impact in community. So, and we have it broken down by our programs, and we're utilizing this information so that we can be more effective and efficient with our programs, but also to share with our donors that your dollar has an exponential impact in community. And it's because of our collective impact model that happens, and that's why it's so important. But data is everything to us. And if you ever need any type of community data down to the zip code level, we have all of those resources on our website to help you make the best decisions possible in your businesses, in your careers, and in your philanthropic giving.
Great, thank you. Veronica, do you have anything to add on data?
And I certainly use the Alice report, asset limited, income constrained, but employed community members. So thank you for all that incredible data. We also do a lot of touch bases with our nonprofit partners, and we do surveys. And the storm Sirius that we just experienced was a perfect example of how those surveys allowed us to be extra responsive in our grant making. We asked 5 questions of our nonprofit partners. We got the data and we rolled and started issuing grants. We had grants issued within 2 days of the storm, the first storm, and then we continued that process. So surveying and connecting, but data is essential. We use data as the decision-making level and informational level, but we are in the business of relationships. So it's a balance of using the data and understanding the context and being in a relationship with our nonprofit partners and businesses so we can see that bigger picture as well as the data.
Right, and it's not just data for data's sake, but it's data to understand the impact of your work that's most critical to us. Bishop Parker is using data significantly on our food security initiative that we are focused on right now. So we invested in data on where food is coming into Manatee County, emergency food is coming in, where it's being distributed, and where it's not. And what we found out is that there is plenty of food coming into Manatee County, believe it or not. There's plenty. The problem is it's not getting into areas where it's needed most, West Samoset, and Nico. So we have a group of about 40 organizations right now, from food banks to pantries to nonprofit organizations that serve the underserved and underrepresented, to help us figure out how together we can move the needle on those numbers and make sure that food gets where it needs to be in culturally appropriate ways, so that we eliminate as much food waste as we can and make sure that people have what they need to keep their families healthy. So data is critically important to all of us. One thing I do want to mention, and we all agreed we were going to talk about, is business's role. What is your business's role in encouraging philanthropy? And one of the stories that I've heard about Ned and Patty Bishop that is especially touching to me is Sneed Island Boatworks. How many of you knew that Ned Bishop actually started Sneed Island Boatworks? A couple, yeah. He had a couple of yachts, and was not using them as much, and wanted to make sure that the staff that he had working on those boats continue to have employment. He felt it was his responsibility as an employer. So he created Sneed Island Boatworks as a way to keep those individuals employed. So his philanthropy went beyond, he and Patty's philanthropy went beyond the organizations that were providing services in the community to his employees as well. So I thought many of you as business owners would appreciate that story. And Jessica and Veronica, if you have something to add along those lines as well.
Sure. I mean, your employees will expect this from you. I mean, that's just hands down. I mean, it's an important part of your culture, your value proposition, the mission of your organizations is to take care of the community that you're operating your business out of. And I know all of you in this room are very philanthropically minded in that regard. And that community engagement for your team is really important. It does boost your culture. It will boost their impressions and just happiness in their roles if you engage them in this way. So for example, like volunteer opportunities, other ways of learning about and getting engaged in the community, supporting those volunteer opportunities. A lot of businesses will give volunteer time off to their teammates, so that they can, if they serve on boards, or if they do want to do something in community, that they can have the flexibility and the support to do that. At United Way, we have a lot of technology and programs. So if anybody is interested in offering philanthropy to your team, that is something that we can help you with, whether that be connecting you with any of our hundreds of nonprofit partners with volunteer opportunities, specifically customized to your team to be able to give back in community, to just, simply giving in community. We have a lot of resources to help you with that. But starting and doing something and supporting your team in those endeavors will boost your bottom line for sure.
And I talked about corporate ambassadorship. So that's a very, very simple way of showing your employees you care and being part of this community. But let me dive into a couple others. Advocate for the causes that will move your business forward. And I'll give you an example of these amazing ladies. And I saw Mary Glass here and Jackie from the chamber. A group of us got together and said to ourselves, if our children do not have the support they need at the school district, they will fail. They will not read at grade level, and we know what will happen then. So we got behind the school district referendum. It was a political, we like to think nonpartisan issue, and we worked together to create media posts, editorials, advertising, to try to share the word about causes from an advocacy perspective that can move the needle in our community. So partner not only with your chamber, with your community foundations, with your United Way, but with each other to band together behind issues that you can help move the needle. We speak so much louder when we do it together. So advocacy is one of the ways you can engage yourselves. We have a couple initiatives where, again, a group of us are working together toward Reach Manatee, which is about postgraduate completion and engagement with the chamber, with the workforce board, and I saw Josh here as well. And we have a big focus too on financial sustainability of our community. We've, again, with the Chamber and with the Workforce Board, have partnered with Credit Union One to create a long-term financial sustainability program that is about financial empowerment. From an MCS perspective, that entails grants, scholarships, outfitting our nonprofit partners with systems that can help them be financially sustainable into the future, and then training the nonprofit partner employees and their staff so they can support the community to elevate their financial stability. And I know, again, preaching to the choir to these ladies, those issues are paramount to us. But as an employer, encourage your staff to engage in those initiatives, fund those initiatives, become a corporate ambassador, advocate for the community. And if those aren't enough, come see me later. I'll tell you a few more.
Are there any questions that you all have, or any last thoughts if we don't have any questions that you all would like to ask? Stump the panel.
Good afternoon, Samantha McKee from Tidewell Foundation. Earlier, we were talking about demographics and talking about the transition of wealth. What are you doing within your organizations to prepare for targeting what millennial here, what they're starting to call the sandwich generation, where you're caregiving from both ends and maybe being a little more selective of where you're donating your funds?
Well, I think some of us are part of that sandwich generation where parents are aging and they need care, and our children are still too young to operate on their own well-being. So I think a lot of us have initiatives designed to support that. But rephrase the question again. I feel like I'm off track.
Are there certain initiatives or focuses that you're putting into place to shift how you're targeting that
How we're
generation?
targeting
Yes.
that generation.
Absolutely. So we are embracing technology. So we're building something called Go United, where a stakeholder can log in and create their own profile, see their annual giving, lifetime giving. They can track their volunteer hours. They can see their personal social return on investment, highly personalized to them. They can see their community conditions. They can design it totally customized based on their interests. They're built like it's like LinkedIn for philanthropy. We're launching that next year, so that for like the millennials who want to make it as easy as possible, as accessible as possible, 24/7, always on, like, they can have access to that and be able to support their community, see their philanthropy in action, and be able to touch that and stay in tune with it anytime that they want to. So that's technology is one way that, and we're going to, I mean, we have a lot of different ways of like directly like community need and being able to tie that into those opportunities where they can really hone in on the things that are important to them. We have a lot of just really great ideas for the future as we build that out, but I think embracing that type of piece is really important for that generation.
And I think, too, your point about demographic shifts, right? We're seeing demographic shifts in age. We're seeing in Manatee County, which by 2030 will outpace the population of Sarasota County, which we never thought could be possible. And we are seeing the demographic of the Hispanic Latino sector growing at the speed of light, right? And so the needs of that subset of the community are different. So what are we doing? And I'll give you a couple examples. We established the Latino Collaborative, which is a group designed to elevate the voices of the nonprofits that serve those communities and led by those communities, not only because they are Hispanic Latino, but because they're the best at what they do. And we want to identify gaps of service amongst the group and then fund to those gaps of services. So we're always having to search and find where is the gap, whether it's generational or race-related or socioeconomical or educational gaps. So thank you for thinking that way.
So I think we're ready. Oh, one more question. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, you talk, I know, to so many people throughout the community. I'd be interested to hear any stories that have particularly impacted you emotionally, or something that maybe surprised you that you learned.
Well, a Point of Pride for Bishop Parker Foundation happened this past spring when the organization made its very first grant for environmental causes. And that was a big step. It had never happened before. We invested $350,000 in Conservation Foundation of the Gulf Coast. There you go. To secure an easement, a conservation easement on a very important piece of property right next to the Girl Scout camp on Braden River, correct? Yes. So for us, that furthered the bishop's intent of having waterways, access to waterways, clean waterways. And it was special for me. I was very new in the role, and to be a part of that significant funding of our first step into environmental causes was important.
I'm just going to give a smaller example, but one that is really important from a navigation perspective, because I think navigating support and resources for so many in our community is a really big challenge, and 211 is really important. We had a senior who just became a widow, and she was worried about being able to pay for all of her bills now that she went from 2 incomes to 1. She lost some income when her husband passed, and she called 211 and got directed to a program that would cover her cell phone bill for seniors, and that type of thing. Even though it's so small. But being able to connect her to the resources that she needs in community, because there are so many throughout our community, that so many of our nonprofits in this room provide, making sure that we are efficiently and effectively getting those tools to the people who need it the most is so important. And I can't underscore that more.
Too many stories. And sometimes as a funder, as a foundation, we don't get to see that very, very last story where the dollar was spent. Our nonprofit partners share those stories with me. But just yesterday, I was at the county offices, and somebody pulled me aside and said, I just need to explain to you that I was working with Operation Warrior Resolution. Hi, friends. And a grant from your organization saved our home. And she went on to tell me how, if it weren't for this grant, she wouldn't have been able to mitigate the flooding in her home and would have had to replace the entire first story. But it was the timing of the grant. It was the fact that this was a veteran that called the right organization for help, who called the right organization for help, and then the speed with which we were able to produce that grant. So those stories walk around you all day long. All you have to do is just listen and be inspired.
Thank you all. One more round of applause, please, for our fantastic panel. And to think of the hundreds of millions of dollars of impact that these three amazing leaders and their boards and their staff and their committees are directing every day in our region is just phenomenal. Somewhat overwhelming, quite frankly. So remember, year-end giving is upon us. And there is concern that based on the extraordinary generosity of our region in response to the disasters that we have experienced over the past 2 months, that year-end giving may be down. And that's certainly understandable because people have been generous in so many other ways. But please don't forget year-end giving. So all of you nonprofits, thank you, thank you. We know that's an important message. So thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much to our annual Headliners sponsors. I'll let you know that next month, on December 11th, I believe, is our final Headliners luncheon of the year. It's our annual State of the County address. So always a popular topic. We will welcome Charlie Bishop, Manatee County Government's county administrator, his team, and the county commission to join us. We will be at the Palmetto Marriott Resort and Spa. So if you haven't seen that new facility in our community, please get your reservations in early. We're already at, I think it's just over 150 for that lunch. It's a month away, so it will sell out, our annual State of the County. So with that, thank you so much. And can we all just say in unison, goodbye, Sarah? 1, 2, 3. Goodbye, Sarah. So I apologize to any Sarah in the room. It really was a fond farewell to you. And with that, enjoy your afternoon.